All right, what are we doing today? Stats, right? That's what we're here for. We're here for some stats. It's day 9. I don't know. 7th day of lecture. And today we're going to go over 3.4, which is on measures of position and outliers. We'll start there. So as a reminder, a lot of this is building off the empirical rule. So let's draw the empirical rule table again. God, that looks like shit. So we have mu in the center, which is our mean. And we go 1 standard deviation out, 2 standard deviations out, and 3 standard deviations out. And we're going to do our percentages here. Anyone remember what the innermost percentages were? Is that what you were raising your hand for? Next one. 13.5. Yes, it is. All right, hotshot. Keep going. 2.35 and 0.15. Those are the percentages. So, for height in America, I assume this is in America. This might be worldwide. The mean height in inches, this is for males, is 70 inches with a standard deviation of 4 inches. That means inches. The single one means feet. As a reminder. So if I do this table here for these, the middle one is 70. And I add 4 going to the right at each step. And I subtract 4 going to the left at each step. So I've got 58, 62, 66 on the left, 74, 78, 82 on the right. I am, Hefe is 5 foot 5.5 inches. Yeah, I'm short. So like short people always like to add that extra ½ inch. It just sounds a little bit taller than 5'5". If I write this in inches, I do 5 feet times 12 is 60 inches. And then plus 5.5. Hefe is 65.5 inches tall. Which means my short fuck ass is way the fuck over here. I had a young lady in the class. Brooke. She was 5'2", which is 62 inches. And Brooke is female. Females have a mean deviation of 65 inches. And a standard, not mean deviation, a mean of 65 inches, and a standard deviation of 3.5 inches. Can I put Brooke on my empirical rule chart up here? Why not? It's designed to be for guys, right? So this is shitty. I can't like, she's below average, right? I'm below average. Which one of us is more below average? Which one's shorter relative to our gender? Like, am I shorter than most guys, or is she shorter than most girls? So this doesn't give us an easy way of doing it, but we can convert to a system that does. That's the premise of where we're going with this presentation now. So I'll give you guys a couple, got a little bit longer to write this down. And when I'm saying which of us is shorter, like, which of us is more deviations away from the mean is another way of saying which is shorter. All right, so remember in a lot of these lectures, I've been saying XI is the ith data or the data kind of thing. Well, so for me, I'm X equals for X for Hefe. He's the 65.5. And what I want to know is I'm trying to figure out where I lie, like how many deviations away. I can write X, like I want to try to write X in terms of mu plus question mark deviations away. Like that's what I'm trying to find. Like if I can find this, question mark is how many deviations away I am. Well, they don't use this question mark In stats, we use Z for this. And the formula for Z comes directly from this equation. I'm going to get rid of the question mark and I'm going to put in Z. And I've got X equals mu plus Z sigma. So if I wanted to write Z in terms of the other stuff, I gotta do some algebra here. I can subtract mu from both sides. And I get X minus mu equals Z sigma. And then if I divide both sides by sigma, I get a formula for Z. Z equals X minus mu over sigma. And if we're doing it in terms of samples rather than population, it's X minus X bar over S. Now on a Z graph, the empirical rule for the Z graph, this is really easy. In terms of Z, these numbers, the middle one is always 0, and we're counting the number of deviations going away. So these are Z scores down here. And if I do this for both Brooke and I, we can now go on the same graph. And we actually can. I have the population mean and the population standard deviation for both males and females. And I have our individual X scores. So I have everything on the right side of this equation. Let me leave that up a little bit longer, make sure everyone's got it written down. It's gone. So we're going to walk through converting stuff to these Z-scores. Are you guys ready? All right. So, converting to Z-scores. We got Z equals X minus mu over sigma. For males, mu was 70 inches and sigma was 4 inches. Females, it was 65 and 3.5. my X score was 65.5. And her X score was 62. So let's do Z for Hefe. X is my score, 65.5. Mu is 70. Sigma is 4. (65.5) minus 70 is negative 4.5 over 4. And I'm getting negative 1.125. And that's for J Hefe. So I'm going to come up here and put me on the graph. I am just a little bit lower than -1. So I'm just a little bit to the left, -1. Does that make sense? Why don't you guys try calculating Brooks? Do Brooks real quick. You have all the data there. Kind of copy over what I did and mimic it for now. So her score is 62. Her average is 65. And standard deviation is 3.5. So I get -3 over 3.5. Negative 0.86. Oh, I didn't write a negative sign on mine. It was negative. Which means I heard a beep. She's just a little bit to the left. Or to the right of -1. So relative to our genders, I am shorter than Brooke. Even though I am taller than her. I'm 65 inches, she's 62 inches. I'm 3 inches taller, and yet still, I am shorter than more men percentage wise than she is of women. Bless you. Now, on a bell curve, we like to consider anything outside of 2 deviations as outliers. So what that translates to on the z-score, outliers in z-score, z is less than -2, or z is greater than +2. That's z-score. That's what you'll be doing with some of the z-score stuff. We'll use this several times throughout the semester. So if you forget z-score, I'm going to tell you it's in chapter 3 if I remember what chapter it's in. It's not a complicated formula. It's not really something that took a lot of brain power or a lot of calculator work. Just had to write it down. We use this for bell curves. But not everything is a bell curve. For skewed graphs, we use median and IQR. So bell curves was mu and standard deviation. Skew graphs is mean and IQR. IQR stands for interquartile range. Right? Interquartile range is the third quartile. I need to show you what quartiles are, minus the first quartile. I will often abbreviate this Q3 minus Q1. So quartiles are one form of percentiles. Percentiles is like actually how they report the SAT scores and shit like that. So if you've never known how percentiles work, you're about to find out. Does anyone need that up longer for their notes? All right. So what are percentiles and quartiles? Now, this is how a bell curve would look. Skewed is going to be different, but I can show the quartiles much easier on a bell curve. We break it up into 4 equal regions. This is the first one is the 0% mark. This is the 25% mark. The 50% mark, the 75% mark, and the 100% mark. A data value at the 30% mark, like right here. What that means is 30% of the group has a lower value. So, and we call that the 30th percentile. Now, when they do like the SATs, they like, you made the 98th percentile, means 98% of people that took the exact same test. That's the thing with SATs, it's always the exact same test. 98% of the people scored lower than you, which means 2% scored higher than you. If you're at the 100 percentile, you got the top fucking score. The reason they do it generally when they do SATs, it's a universal, it's the same test across the entire country for any given day. So like different days will have different tests. That way, there's like, if some problem, one test is harder than the others, you're not comparing you're not comparing the AP calculus group versus the fucking students that are like barely making it. You're not comparing the two groups, you're comparing it relative to the people. Oh, that's not a good example. The AP calculus go, like they should both be the same quality of students, but the AP calculus exam tends to be harder than a regular exam. So it's like the exam's harder, so most people will score lower. But the idea is, how do you score relative to everyone else? That's how percentiles work. These marks right here, these are the quartiles. Think money in quarters. $0.25, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1. %, yeah, I guess is Q0. We'll call that the minimum though. It's the smallest score. Smallest value. %25 is Q1. So it's the value at 25% mark. 50% mark, we could call it Q2, but this is really the median. It is the middle value. %75% is called Q3, or the value at the 75% mark. And finally, 100%, we could call it Q4, but it's really the max. Min, Q1, median, Q3, and max is a sequence. And this is called the 5-number summary. Which we're going to use in a little bit in 3.5. 3.5 is actually the 5-number summary in the box plot. So we're going to dive more into that. I want to go back and talk about how we use the median IQR, because like I just described IQR, I think it's a little bit more helpful to show how we used it. I didn't finish showing it because I want to make sure everyone knew what percentiles and quartiles were. You guys ready? So, IQR, here's my blue pen. Is the Q3 value minus the Q1 value. This will just be a number. What we do with this to find outliers we use something called the fences. The lower fence starts at Q1, and we're going to subtract 1.5 times the IQR. The upper fence starts at Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. So it's kind of like, think of a yard, a house. We got our house here, and we've got a front yard going this way and a backyard going this way. And we have our fence here. So you have fences on your property. Anything outside the fence outside data is called outliers. all of this stuff you can find in StatCrunch. Well, Z-score is not calculated in StatCrunch. In StatCrunch, we can do stat, summary stats, columns. And there we can find min, Q1, median, Q3, max, and even IQR. And so I'm gonna load up our data set and we'll do it on one of the things. Just writing that down, let me sign in. Okay, let's come over, take a look at it. Remember, these summary stats only work on columns that have numbers in them. So age, shoe, and height. Let's do age. And I'm going to go through here and cherry pick the ones that I want. I want min, Q1, median, Q3, max, and IQR. So they all show up on that list. I like to select them in order that I'll look at them. So I'm going to write this down on the paper and switch back to the paper, and I'm like, because it doesn't show you the fences. Well, there is something that shows the fences. That's the box plot that we're doing next. But this is what I'm writing down. So for our data set with age, I have min is 14, Q1 is 18, Q2, which is the median, is 21, that's median. Q3 is 32, Q4 is 79, and that's the max. And it says IQR is 14. So you can see if I do with the calculations I said, Q3 minus Q1 is 32 minus 18. 32 minus 18 is 14. So that's how they're getting it. Now let's look at our fences. Our lower fence as a reminder, is Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. So I'm going to do 1.5 times IQR over here. So 1.5 times 14 is 21. So this is 18 minus 21. The lower fence is at -3. This is lower than our min. So this means there's no outliers on the low side. The upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. Q3 is 32. 1.5 times IQR is 21. This adds up to 53. Our max was 79, which means we have scores higher than 53. These are all going to be outliers. Any score over 53 is going to be an outlier. So finding the fences isn't too hard. I think this part is a little bit easier to see when we do our box plot. So I'm going to start up 3.5, go over our 5-number summary in our box plot, and then we'll be able to see the outliers using these fences. Okay, and we'll actually draw the box plot by hand, and then we'll take a look at it on StackCrunch. StackCrunch will do it for us. You guys ready for more? Yeah. Actually, let's take a 5-minute break. If anyone needs a break, pee time. Quick smoking a pancake. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Yeah, Austin Powers, one of the Austin Power movies, smoking a pancake, bong and a blitz. All right, so 3.5 is the 5-number summary in the box plot. And we already talked about the 5 numbers. The 5 numbers are the min, Q1, the median, Q3, and the max, which is all the different quartiles. The box plot is a graphical representation of these. that also show the fences. And any outliers. And outliers if there are any. So doing the box plot by hand. A, find the 5 numbers. We need those. And the IQR. Recalling IQR is Q3 minus Q1. B, calculate your fences. Lower fence is Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. And the upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. Next is when we start doing the picture. So we want to draw a number line with room above it for a box. The number line should include the 5 numbers and the 2 fences. And they should be in order. The number lines increase from left and right, so these should be in order. And obviously, if we're including them, we should label them. Maybe I should put that in case people are just like, they're on there. Kind of want to mark them so they're easy to find later on. So when we do our box, the box is formed above Q1 and Q3 with a bar down the middle at the median. Okay, so that makes the box. Then that does those. Now we need something called the whiskers. So the whiskers, because this is sometimes called the box and whisker plot. The whiskers are locate the maybe one largest non-outlier data value. And two, the smallest non-outlier data value. So these are like the values just inside the box or just inside the fences. What we do with these is we connect a horizontal line to the box with them. So connect them to the box with a horizontal line. When you're doing this by hand, just do the fences. You already got them marked. Just do the fences. That's my pro tip. Very rarely is the data value closest to it, not like bucket right next to it. And then outliers. Outliers are the final thing. Anything outside, any data values outside the box and whiskers. We want to mark with an asterisk. A dot or an asterisk. We'll do this a second in StatCrunch. So I'll give you the commands here real quick. It's graph, box plot. And you need the data. So things that will show skew here. Uneven whisker lengths. Like the whiskers are kind of like the tails. Whiskers are kind of like the tail. So if one whisker is longer than the other, that tail is a lot longer than the other. So longer whisker means longer tail. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell with that. So uneven box uneven division in the box with the median. As well. All right, that was a lot of writing. Let's make sure everybody's got that. Other than Salt Lake City being a super busy area, I actually liked it the time I drove through it. Super busy, but it was like nice weather.
The temple there is really cool.
I bet they've got a lot of good temples there for the Mormon church.
To be honest, any temple by the Mormon church is pretty, even the one in LA is really nice. I've seen that one. There's a couple others in California that I've seen. They're all really pretty. They're actually building one in Bakersfield in a couple of years.
Nice. I like seeing temples. I don't dare go in one. I might combust, but
You can't go in a Mormon temple anyways. You have to like be baptized and you have to have like a temple rec from your bishop. It's a whole process.
how do you get into a temple then? How do you join the Mormon thing if you can't go in?
You go to the churches.
But you can't go in, you knock and say, baptize
You
me?
can go into, so you can go into the Mormon church. So like the church house, you can go to the church services there. But to go to the actual temples, you have to be baptized into the church, and then you also have to be doing like little meetings with the church bishop, which is kind of like a pastor. And then you have to get a temple recommendation from your bishop, and then even then, your recommendation will only let you do certain things within the temple, depending on what your recommendation is.
What's the difference between a church and a temple? Do they have different building structures? That's fucking crazy. That's
So,
a
like-
waste of fucking money.
A church is like just like a standard building where you do like your sacrament meetings and all that, like your Sunday church service. And then the temple is where you go and do like extra things.
That sounds so
Like,
fucking
strengthen your
culty.
It is, yeah,
Doesn't that sound like super culty?
yeah, because it is,
I didn't know all that.
yeah.
I know they got a lot of crazy shit going on in the Mormon religion.
They got a lot of crazy things in there,
Like underwear
the top-
rules and all sorts of shit.
The top thing that they do in the temple specifically is baptisms for the dead. So like if
Wait, no. Fucking hold the fucking press. Like,
so.
do they bury them?
No, so they
But-
are really good at lineage, so they'll track your lineage as far back as they can go, find people that are somewhat kind of related to you that are dead, and then they use you, like if you're related to them and you're baptized in the church and you can go to the temple, they use you in their stead, so like they baptize you but using that dead person's name, so that way you can all be together in heaven. Cause if you're not baptized, then you can't be together as a family in heaven.
But what if they were Mormon? You can become a Mormon post-mortem? Like post-death? Who ever heard of some shit like that? Whoever knew you can join a religion after death? Not I. That's some new shit. You learn something new every day. That's fucking fascinating.
They have the churches sell contracts for that type of thing.
I've never heard of anything like
Since
this.
they don't let people in their temples, there's no real way to stop it, and there's also no rules against it. So like if you're not baptized into the church, you're not gonna get in the temple, and then therefore you can't do anything about it if. Like, let's say that you put it in your will, I don't wanna be baptized when I'm dead, because you have family. that's-
Right, there's nothing you can do
There's nothing
about
you can do
anything.
about it. There's nothing you can do about it.
But you weren't technically dipped in the, what is it, baptism still dipping in the water, like dunking your head? So your body wasn't technically dunked in the water, so it's all a bunch of bullshit.
Mhm.
Like your body and the soul, like that person could have been dead 100 fucking years. They could have been dead before the Mormon church was even fucking founded. You can't just baptize them and say, oh, no, you all say that, how is that even credible? At what point do you gotta be in a fucking religion go, well, that sounds like some fucking bullshit? Like you can accept the whole baptism in your own place in the thing,
Because it's for the
but
dead,
going
like,
back like 100 years and going, yep, great granny. Guess what? You're a fucking Mormon now too. What? You are Catholic? Too bad. You're fucking Mormon now.
So, and the thing with the baptisms for the dead is the people that are mainly used instead of the dead people are like literal children, like freshly baptized 10-year-olds. Those are the people that they use to do the baptisms for the dead. They don't do it with the adults.
Well, yeah, it was usually the adults are already baptized.
Yeah, but like the baptisms for the dead, they use the kids to do it.
Well, it's better than what I first thought, right? When she first said they baptized the dead, what was the fucking first thing you guys thought?
We unbury the body.
I'm thinking they got the fucking dead body and they're dipping it before burial. And I'm like. Well, like baptized at that point.
They basically pretend that like an alive person is a dead person.
Right, yeah, but when you first said it,
Yeah.
I like the way you led with it. When we baptized, that's
That would
fucking
be the
great.
shock value. The shock value.
Oh, the
is
shock value is
great.
great. That's good stuff. That's the best fucking thing I've ever heard about all the Mormon church. I've heard a lot of crazy things. That one takes the cake.
Yeah.
Like, what if it's a conflicting religion that the person was a part of? I'm totally fucking derailing this.
In their perspective, it's the one true church and they want the families to be together in heaven. Like, or in their second stage of heaven, because there's like, they don't believe in hell, so there's 3 tiers to like heaven. The
Okay,
bottom tier is like normal people that aren't like sinners, normal people that aren't Mormon. The second tier is like regular Mormon people, and then the third tier is like the super bougie, fancy, good Mormon people.
so like, just like there's rings of hell, there's rings of heaven.
Yeah.
Question. So like, let's say grandpa's dead, but grandma's alive. And they're both Catholic. And then like all of a sudden, like, you're like, guess what, grandpa? You're a fucking Mormon. What does grandma have to say about that? She doesn't get a fucking voice.
I'm Mormon. So you.
Two of you.
believe that like.
Oh, I'm not.
or-
You're in a Mormon family. Go with it.
like, Baptisms of the dead, like. The people can accept it or not accept.
They're dead. They don't get a fucking vote.
In like heaven.
Oh, so beyond
Accept it.
the pale, we don't know whether they accepted it or not.
Yeah.
We're just like,
Do
we're offering them a ticket.
it. Exactly.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
And like if someone's alive, like it's the closest living relative, can like need your permission.
Okay. Some new shit every day. That's like some fucking. Like some Tom Cruise fucking Scientology shit right there. Alright, let's do our box plot with our 5 number summary here. So I'm gonna write them all down again. So with our age group. That was fascinating stuff. The stuff I learned from students. I had my IQR was 21. Nope, 14. And so we did the lower fences. I'll do them again without showing it. The low fence is Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. So 1.5 times IQR, it's off screen, so. If you do that 14 times 1.5 in a calculator, you get 21. So my low fence was 18 minus 21 is -3. Upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. So 32 plus 21 is 53. And 53 kind of goes like right here. In the order of things.
With IQR on the left, that's 14. Or 20.
IQR is 14, yeah. Remember IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So 32 minus 18 equals 14. StatCrunch will give that to you. If you don't want to calculate it, it will not give you the fences. It'll draw the fences for you when you do the box plot. So, number line. My highest value is 79, so I'm just going to put 80 up here. I'll call the middle 40, and over here is 0. I think if you do like the biggest number and the smallest, it kind of makes it easier to break down like middle areas. So like this is halfway, that's like 20. This is like 60. And then I keep breaking down again. Halfway between 0 and 20 is 10. Halfway between 20 and 40 is 30. Halfway between 40 and 60 is 50. And halfway between 60 and 70 or 80 is 70. So right here, right about there is my min. And right about there is my max. The median is right about there. It's even closer to 20 than I drew it, but like kind of blurred a little bit. Q1 is right about there. And Q3 is over here. My fences, I've got a fence here. And a fence below 0. So we do our box, we do it above Q1 and Q3. So I make a box above Q1 and Q3, and at the median, I draw a vertical line. So Q1, median, Q3. Then I find the lowest non-data value or lowest non-outlier inside the fences. So on the left side, that's the min. And over here, I'll put it near F. I assume it's near 53. Well, we can actually see when we look. That's what the whiskers look like. Some presentations put like little bars right there, but you don't necessarily need the bars on the whiskers. Now we make asterisks for outliers. I know that there is at least one outlier at 79. I believe this one has more though, and I don't remember what they are because I don't have the data set in front of me. We'll see this when we do it. If that gap between the fence and that largest outlier is really large, there's a good chance there's more in there. If the outlier is like right next to the fence, you probably don't have any more. There's maybe only one. So notice how that looks like it's an uneven length. my median is right here. And the box and whisker to the right is so much bigger than the box and whisker to the left. This is skewed right, especially seeing that outlier way out there. That's how we're measuring it. From the median as far as you can go to the data value. So the median to the right, or the length to the right, is really long. The length to the left is like that width right there. Super short. You guys ready to see the stack crunch? I see some people still drawing, so let me wait. They didn't baptize you when you were young, when you didn't know what you were doing?
My mom didn't want me to get baptized, so I didn't.
Is your mom Mormon?
I just went to church for it.
So grandma's Mormon, is your mom
So,
not your grandma's child?
no, so my dad is my
Okay.
grandma's child.
So your dad's Mormon?
My dad is technically Mormon, but he stopped going to church when he joined the Navy.
Okay. So is that one of those churches that like once you're one, you're always one? Whether you,
I mean, you can go through, like, get, whatever, but it's like a really long, lengthy process, and then, like, it's unlikely that you'll actually do it.
kind of funny that there's an actual process going, nope, I'm done, rather than just not going, you can say, nope,
It's
stop
the same-
sending me the fucking
A
newsletter.
lot of religions are like that, though, like, I think Catholicism has a similar process.
Do they?
Mhm.
I worked for them for 7 years and I never heard anything of it. That doesn't mean there isn't one. Just because I never heard it,
Well,
doesn't
no-
mean,
well, most people don't do it, because most of the time it's a long, lengthy process. It's like the same if you get like a temple divorce, that's also a really, really long, lengthy process, I've heard.
oh yeah.
It's harder to do than a regular.
Generally, the people in charge of the church or temple don't want you getting divorced, so they make you go through fucking couples therapy and all sorts of shit. Yeah, alright. Over here. That's some fascinating shit. Alright, I hit the button 3 times, finally, turns over. Okay, so those were our values. If we do graph. Box plot. We're gonna tell it age. And you kind of wanted to use fences to identify outliers is already checked. You want to check mark draw boxes horizontally as well, so it looks horizontal. Otherwise, they'll go up and down, and it's a little bit harder to read. So click on draw boxes horizontally. And look, we can see a whole bunch of, they don't do asterisks, they do big old fat fucking dots. Like those are big dots. But if you put your cursor over one, this is kind of neat. You can even like click on it and it'll highlight which row it is. That's pretty fucking cool. How are my old people some of the first people that entered scores? That's weird. You can always clear it. If you put your cursor over this, it will tell you all the information from the summary stats. It even counts the outliers. I only see 6 dots, so there must be double in one spot. It gives me the lower limit, which is the min, and the upper limit. Oh, they're saying 52, and I calculated 53. So the 52 must be the lowest score inside the fence. You said the fence was at 53. 52 is the next number down. That seems reasonable. So that's at the 14. And they don't even bother showing the fence when it's outside the min. That's pretty standard. So it's kind of standard to not include a fence that is outside the data. Even on the number line. So their graph, their graph actually started at like 10. They cut off even 0. They just started at 10 and went on. Because they're like, the lowest score is 14. How low do we need to make it? Do we need a whole bunch of extra white space over here? I think if you're doing it by hand, it's helpful. Just to keep track of where everything is. That says number lime. That's fucking awesome. The number lime. All right, so stats, not stats, graph, box plot. And check mark, draw horizontal boxes. Draw boxes horizontally. See that picture, Utah with Colorado right next to that? I saw Denver on the map. I've been through Denver twice. I've never stayed in Denver. We were going, we went to the Grand Canyon and then we went up to Mount Rushmore. So we passed through Denver on the way. And I was driving and it was the fucking coolest drive for about 2 hours I've ever had because the lightning was falling like fucking rain. Boom, 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 all around. Fucking 360 view of fucking lightning. Just falling. You're in a car, so you're safe because you got rubber tires, you're not getting shot. But seeing that much lightning and just the fucking boom, 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 the fucking thunder all the time. And I'm driving, so I have all the mirrors too, so I can see the shit popping off behind me. It was for a couple hours, literally. More like fucking 8 to 10 lightning bolts a minute. It wasn't as much as rain. That would be fucking deadly. That's like Palpatine, But seeing more than one lightning bolt a minute is fucking crazy. Seeing 10 to 15, yeah, that was fucking cool. That was Denver. I'm done. Yeah, we've done 3.5. I don't know why I kept on going. I kept the Capto audience. You're all waiting for more. Guess what? You get to listen to me fucking.
Have you seen one of the lightning coming out of the ground?
That's how lightning always works. Lightning always comes out of the ground.
No, it was like a reverse process.
Lightning looks like it's coming from the sky, but lightning comes from the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at that.
No,
It doesn't look like it.
That's what he's doing.
I skipped high school biology.
That is not biology.
I don't know.
Unless you're fucking, I don't know,
I couldn't tell you a single thing I learned in high school.
live wire.
I know negatives coming out of the. It's support them.
It's like,
The ground is negative, the sky is positive, and the electrons flow upward. But it's so quick, and
And they say the sound's quicker than light, right?
sound is slower than light. You see the lightning before you hear the thunder.
I'm stuck here for. I don't know, what about what's the college transcript?